all want to make money by doing something we love. If you could turn your hobby into your job, you'd never work a day in your life, right? Welcome to Hobby Hustle, the ultimate podcast where collecting passion and business collide. Now, here's your host, Zach Nygett.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 16 of Hobby Hustle. I'm your host, Zach Nygett, and I appreciate you taking time to spend with us. If you've been enjoying the pod, please be sure to like, subscribe, rate us, and of course, share with your friends. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to leave a comment to share any thoughts or suggestions you have. I greatly appreciate your support, and I hope you enjoy our show this week. Today's guest has been a collector his entire life and turned a simple idea into a booming business. In 2020, he thought there was a need to better protect your slabs from drops and dings. After looking across the market, he realized there was a hole in the marketplace. Using pure determination and passion, he hustled his way to create Slab Strong. After a successful run in 2023, BCW Supplies came calling and made a deal to acquire the company and make him the brand manager of BCW Supplies. You can find him on BCW Supplies or at Slab Strong on social. I'm honored to welcome a lifelong collector, an entrepreneur, and a true hobby hustler, Tim McEnery, to the show. Tim, thank you for joining, my friend. How are you?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing really well, dude. I appreciate you taking time to speak with us today, and I'm excited to get into it. You've got a really cool story. But before we get into it, and this is actually perfect because you're wearing it, a lot of people know you as like sort of the big hat guy. So what sort of started that? Where'd that all come from?
There was my buddy Corey, Show Your Slabs, Corey.
Yeah.
He saw it on Shark Tank, and we had the first mint collective coming up in Vegas. I honestly don't know how he did it. I should ask him because he got in touch with the owners somehow, like within 3 to 4 days of them being on Shark Tank. So you would think that they would be crazy busy, but he got hats made, sent to my buddy James in Vegas, actually. So he had it for us. By the time we got to the mint collective, the hats were already there. And I wore it during the mint collective. I used to also wear a giant chain with like 9 slabs on it and slab strongs.
Yep.
And I was on a bunch of podcasts in Vegas, and it just kind of took off from there. It took
awesome.
when I say let's not get crazy. When I say took off, it's helped me a bunch. I don't want to pretend like it took off like I'm McDonald's stock, but yeah.
So, but it's become iconic, man. Like you can obviously easily see at a show because it stands out. But like I said, a lot of people recognize you from that hat. Obviously, you're rocking the BCW one. You had your Slab Strong one, but it's part of the Slab Strong Tim experience. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I'll show you one of my favorite ones. The original Slab Strong one. I did an event with DJ Jam, who was Snoop and Dre's DJ in the late 90s, early 2000s. And he came out and did a show with us at the All-Star game in Los Angeles. And then so shout out to him. But then so I put that one away because it's signed and I don't want it to fade. But that's my favorite one there.
All right. Now you got the tops too, huh?
Yeah, so I can rock with my jersey from the card, so I can be as seen across the room from everybody. Let everyone know that I'm on a card,
Yeah. Well, and congrats on your own card. That's a pretty big honor as well, man.
Yeah, it was cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, with all my guests, I like to take it back to the very beginning and sort of understand your journey and all of this. So can you tell us a little bit about how you sort of got into collecting and some of those early memories?
Yeah, I actually had to look this up because on previous podcast I keep saying the wrong year of the basketball product I opened. It's actually I specifically remember opening 90-91 Flair.
Okay.
Has the blue border.
Yep.
So I'm like 9 years old at that point. But then I'm like, wait a minute, am I saying the right date? I also opened up 89 Flair.
Yep.
And for my 10th birthday, my father gave me Beckett #1 and Dominique Wilkins 86-87.
Heck yeah, man.
Flair. So those are like my earliest memories of collecting something. And we used to absolutely rip Hobby Box, which at the time, there were like no autos in it. There was no patches or nothing.
Yeah,
and they were probably like $40 to $60 for like what a Hobby Box would be considered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, I'm I'm right there with you. Like all the early basketball stuff, that sort of late 80s, early 90s, that was definitely, as I was really maturing into my youth collecting before it came today. But definitely share some of those memories with you. So I know that, some of that stuff was, pretty simple products and stuff, and your collection sort of evolved to what you're into today. Can you share with us sort of that process and what you're into today?
I've been told that I have one of the more unique collections, not because of anything is priced crazy. It's just I found a way to collect everything Rhode Island, and there's a lot of it doesn't sound even it's a small state, right? But it doesn't sound like there'd be a lot. But for
Yeah.
example, like this set got pretty popular for a little bit, the Trump Stars. So like Viola Davis, she's from Rhode Island, Central Falls, Rhode Island. So like I collect her.
Nice.
1930 King Philip. This is from a
Oh,
cereal box. This is graded through PSA, and I have a bunch of his getting graded right now. I mean, we go back to the original first Canadian baseball set has six guys from the Providence Grays, which was a team in the like late 1800s. So I'm collecting not mostly, like a lot of anything related to Rhode Island. Providence College specifically is like my go-to for collecting basketball. They
okay.
don't really have any other teams. There's been a few baseball players. They no longer have that program. I do collect URI stuff, but it's because it's from Rhode Island. As long as they're not playing PC. So yeah, and from everything to, and also I'm big into nostalgia, right? So Rhode Island being part of nostalgia, there's like 4 to 5 cartoons that I vividly remember as a kid and enjoying them. So I started collecting that stuff now. And not a lot of people know this, but like Captain Planet has some stuff that is
Cool.
gradable. This is a Dunkin' Donuts set. I got this one of one from Topps Chrome. And then there's other
Nice.
things like Gargoyles was one of my favorite shows.
Very
And
cool.
yeah, so real nostalgia type pieces. And
Yeah.
obviously, Gargoyles has like a cult like following. Captain Planet, they have small niches.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that. Certain characters.
That's really cool, man. And what I love about that is collecting is like so much about the individual, right? And like what you just told us is so cool because it is so specific to you and such your passion. And I just love, learning about that from people, right? Like that
Yeah.
you can go to all these different places and these different memories like through these cards, or maybe like you said, just a place like you're passionate about Rhode Island. Like that is so cool that
Yeah,
that
man.
comes through strong. Obviously I've got a Chicago passion, but there's a lot of ways to go, so I try to channel it, but it's very
Yeah.
much from my hometown type of stuff. So that's really cool. So are there any sort of items out there right now that you've seen or know of that would be like the grail item that you got to add at some point?
I have so I this is I'll say a top 5 grail. Like can't ever say what's the grailiest grail, right? I don't know I don't know until I find it, right? Like until you
Totally.
see it. So
Yeah.
like one thing I want to do is I want to step up to a SGC 5 of the 61 Lenny Wilkins. Lenny Wilkins played point guard for Providence College.
Very cool.
Um I want to step up to a 5 in that at least. And then I have 2 cards. Actually, I brought these just in case you asked. 'Cause I need help out there for my vintage guys. Anyone with a
Yeah.
Lenny Wilkins 61 that has a 5 or a 5.5, I'm cool with that. So I showed you this set earlier. This is Canada's first set. I'm missing Frank Boberich. It's the only card I'm missing from this set. Frank Boberich. I can't find it. It's been
Okay.
sold twice over the last couple of years, only for like $40. And then there's also the Colgan's chips. Haven't heard of these. They were in gum little tins, but
Okay.
there's I want to say 6 to 7 Providence guys in there. I'm missing someone by the name of George Perry.
Okay.
So
So we need
those,
to do a wanted poster, and we got to get these out on the internet and
yeah,
find those for you.
those are like those 2 specifically would complete sets of mine. Whereas I just want a 5. Five's my favorite number, so I just want a 5 in Lenny Wilkins. Other than
Nice.
that, there's some one of one cards I look for from Providence players. They're usually not that expensive, so I wouldn't call them grails, like because you can find them pretty easy and buy them for less than 30. But yeah, those 3, some vintage stuff.
I love it, man. That's all. But again, like that's the whole point of this, right? And I've had other conversations both on the pod and obviously off, but like just random sets, like the '94 Collector's Choice Gold set, right? Like it's nothing crazy, but I collect bulls from that set because they're just hard to find and it's cool. And I love
Yeah,
that, like you can get the same rush from finding that $30 card or piece that no one really cares about that you could from finding a $5,000 piece, right? But it's like it's just all about that collection. So, all right, we're on a mission, Tim. I will make sure to help you get that out there, and let's try to track those down for you.
Yeah, yeah. They're like I said, I've looked through everywhere. I've seen the sales of them. Man, too, they've sold for like less than $40 each. There's
Yeah.
one. So the crazy part is there's one on eBay of the
Okay.
Colgan's Chip Perry, and
Uh-huh.
it's a SGC3. The guy's asking $2,200 for it. So I know where it is, but it's overpriced by
Yeah.
almost $2,000.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do?
Well,
One day,
maybe
maybe.
one day he'll change his mind and make your set. We'll see what we can do for you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm in. All right, cool.
Nice, very cool. Well, so let's get into sort of more your professional career. I think you got a really cool story because, as I had mentioned, before I brought you on here, you had this idea and you turned that into a business. But prior to that, can you tell the audience a little bit about what you did before you sort of got into the hobby?
Yeah, I'll even start when I first collected. I used to caddy since I was 10 years old. That's how I'd make my money and go bicycle to go buy packs at Wexler's Rare Coin
Awesome.
or American Rare Coin. There was two actually. There were coin places, but they had cards. But anyways, so that's how I make my money all the way up until I went to Rhode Island College for a year. I decided that wasn't for me. I started traveling. Lucky for me, um, I was able to not only leave my collection, which at that time was probably two 4 rows and like one shoebox of top loaded cards
Hmm.
at my parents' house. And, they never lost them, never threw them out, never got any rain damage, whatever, but whatever. None of the ones that mattered to me bricked, some bricked, sets bricked.
Sure.
And so now, fast forward to 2020, I got a pretty good job actually. I'm working in a restaurant. I've worked for restaurants half my life after that, and the pandemic hits. I officially am out of a job March 15th. And then at that time, me and my wife, this time she was still my girl. She wasn't my fiance yet at this point. We have like a month off together, but her restaurant, I lose my job permanently. Her restaurant opens, so she goes back to work. At that time, I'm just like, just looking through all my cards, like I still have
Yeah.
my top loaded one, so I know it's there. I stopped taking the cards out of the yellow top loaders, putting them in new ones, and I start to realize there's some stuff that just doesn't mean as much to me. Not any of the stuff that I collect. It's like the John Stockton, Steve Nash rookie, right? Like I'm not a
Yeah.
Steve Nash collector, so throw some stuff on eBay, and then I just had this idea about making slabs look nicer, and I just wanted to color code them, which led to a 3D printed version, which led to me realizing I might have a good idea and got some other people to say, yeah, that's a smart idea. A buddy of mine gave me 3 grand to start the patent process, plus getting like an idea of what the mold would be. Found a random, when I say random, good dude. Found a guy in Logan, Utah to be made in America at first. So yeah, it was once it started happening, I really felt like it was this snowball effect. It took 3 years, but it went by like this though, like
Sure.
crazy. Yeah.
Sure. That's awesome. So, talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, I know you dropped some little details there, but you're a restaurant guy. You
Yeah.
have an idea, which is you think is cool, and you're doing it for your personal passion. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe I should actually make this. You said you 3D printed it, but like, how does the restaurant guy, right, get into learning or figuring out or finding his way into how to make molds? What are molds? All these things. Sort of talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the first thing I did was I grabbed a screw down because it's about the same size as a slab, a PSA slab, really any slab, but and I took like a Cricut stickers and made the look of it, right? So at that
Okay.
point, I'm like, okay, this looks good. I think it looks good. I think it's gonna display the card nice. I didn't have any idea about protection at that point. And then I just started Googling, like, okay, I know 3D printing exists, and I didn't know Dan from Stand Up Displays at this point. Good friends with him now.
Yeah.
So my original idea was, and I still have it actually. I should have got it out to show you. It slid in the top like a top loader. There was no top to my product. It literally slid in like a
Yep.
top loader, but it wasn't as secure and blah blah blah. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, I want to keep the bar. That's what my patent was on, like having the display bar that separates and the scratching and this whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so I had to stick to that, right? And the only way to do that was injection molding. I don't even at that point I'm like, I get what injection molding is. I knew enough to understand it without having to like go to injection molding 101. But I didn't have anyone. I went to this molding company in Rhode Island and they were like, "Oh, you need 50,000 pieces to start off." And I didn't have any money, so I found this guy. He had a website called Harpoon, which was like a card trading site, and I just liked it. I didn't know, dude. I was like looking. I was looking all over. Who can build a website for me? Who did this? And I knew nothing at this point. I still know nothing. I just wear a big hat. It just makes it. It makes it seem like I know what I'm talking about. And offered this guy a small piece of future, right? Because I had nothing. I wasn't selling at that point. It was all offered
Yeah.
offered a piece of my company as like a future thing, and this guy ended up having one of his best friends was a father and son manufacturer in Logan, Utah, which they made the molds too, which is the most important. They made those things so inexpensive for me that I what's crazy is I originally my first ever product was HGA bumpers
Okay.
because
Interesting.
I had met Tyler, right? His name's Tyler. I had met him and he was like, "Oh, I'll order this many." And I'm like, "Cool." So just all black. But that's how I got the feel of how to get injection molding. Yeah, so I flew to Utah 2 or 3 times, got the idea, but I didn't really need to know much more than can you make it? What's it made out of? What's the price type of thing. So yeah, but through all the how fast everything was moving, oh, there was so many anxious times because I'm like, I literally don't know what's happening. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know exactly what it means to have to buy this dye. And at that time, there was a hurricane that hit Houston. I'm sorry. There was a if you remember, Texas that had like froze. There was like a real
Yeah.
bad. The temperature went down and froze. So there was an issue at a Houston plant that actually made the dyes for petroleum silicone stuff. So I didn't
Mhm.
have red for the longest time, and there was things happening that I couldn't control. And I'm anxious because at that point I didn't have any competition. There's a few
Right.
companies now that make competitive products,
Sure.
and they're good products. So I like those guys. But so, like, all this and I don't know what I'm doing at that time. I'm just rolling with the punches. This would happen. You just figure something away. That's really the only way to do it is I need to learn about injection molding, so I learned enough. I needed to learn, I guess, like how to get a lawyer and do taxes because that's something too. I learned how to the patent process, but everything was need to know basis type of thing because I didn't know what I needed. I didn't know what I needed to know when I first
Yeah.
started.
No, I mean, that is such like I think a typical entrepreneur's journey, right? Is that it's sort of like, okay, I have this idea and I have this passion. I'm gonna follow it, and you just sort of take everything as it comes, right? And like you
Yeah,
said, it's injection molding, it's patents, it's this, it's that. So curious on the patent side, how long of a process was that? Because I know that that can be really time consuming.
yeah. So I started the process. First thing I did was I needed $750. My brother, so when I started this and I had lost everything, we were down to $800 total to me and my, at that time, girlfriend's name, because this is before I even asked her.
Sure.
So we're down to $800. My brother had offered me $400 to help with the process. I didn't want to go down to zero. So he offered me 400. So I took 400 plus my part of my 700 or 800 and started the
Like
you have to pay someone in that process to go out and look to see if you are hurting if you are going to get someone else's patent. I'm just forgetting the term,
yeah,
but you
yeah, I know
pay
what you're talking
someone.
about, but like there's a
Yeah,
checking process, like you said, where they
yeah,
look up to see if there's anything else out there, something similar. Like they basically don't want to
yeah.
set you up for failure.
Right. And so they'll come back to you for that $750. They'll come back to you and say this, and this. And it's at that point up to the person to decide, I still want to move forward
Right.
because I think it's different enough from what you just showed me. I can tell you the first product that I had to go up against was this product from this company called Nilo, and they made the rubber encasing for PlayStation controllers, like those rubber bumpers you can change
Yeah,
colors.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my patent was based on separating the labels, and they were considering the A and B, but I know it's not A and B, but the XY button as
Right.
labels poking through uh, um,
Interesting.
a rubber, whatever. So at that point, you got to go, and then that goes to now, which I had a good patent attorney. I have still one now. It changed, but I have a good one now. Where now paying for an attorney's time because they're going to write, it could be 1A, B, all the way to Z, it doesn't matter. And they're going to go through that process. And then there's certain things. I ended up getting an investment from Jeff Wilson, which at that point, if you pay like $1,000 more, usually it's around $1,000, they'll expedite the process.
Okay.
So from beginning to end, probably a total of 2 years, but most people are patent pending for 1 to 3 years. I just
Okay.
paid expedited the process while I was patent pending.
Yeah.
But I went patent pending before I met Jeff. And then once I was able to get that influx of money, I called my lawyer. I was like, let's expedite this thing because.
Yeah.
But at the time,
Totally.
I didn't. At that time too, when you do that, you're spending. I almost spent. I would say I haven't actually ever looked. I should actually look the actual number. 15 to 20,000 on lawyer things and paperwork. That could all be for nothing. Because if no one
Right.
ever wants to use it, then it doesn't matter. It's cool to say you have a pen. Like I have the booklet and everything. Do I feel it's cool, but I don't know.
Totally.
It's not that cool.
That's interesting. So you actually filed for the patent and stuff before you took them to market in any sort of way.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Marco, he's actually kind of private. I probably should have just called him my boy M. Yeah, so I went to him. This is a guy I played soccer with him in high school. This is just a buddy that
Yeah.
believed in me because I went to him originally. He owned the store, and I wanted to open a card store. I had all these dreams, right? And I ended up having my 3D printed version in my hoodie pocket, and I was talking to him. I was in the space that I wanted to build the store. And I was like, "Yeah, I got this thing." He was like, "Oh, that's cool, blah blah blah." And I just finally one day was like, "Hey, like I'd never asked this for money from a friend too is crazy, but."
Sure.
And he's a good businessman. I was like, "Look, I will pay you back every month going forward at this amount." Cool. And he did. He lent me $3,000, which completed the initial part of the patent process.
That's
And then
awesome,
you have
man.
to pay extra once things happen, maintenance stuff like that. But
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating because, like I said, I'm sure some of our listeners, have no idea about that process, right? And I know that obviously having a product that's maybe first to market, that you think is a great idea, like it's important to protect it that way. But at the same
yeah,
time, I don't think people realize the time that it takes and the money. I mean, 15, 20K, it's a lot of money. That's not like an insignificant amount of money for people. And like you said, that's just the patent. That's not creating the product. That's not anything else. That's just having the legal rights to that idea. So, that's pretty fascinating, man.
yeah. And then the other thing too is literally it's I have this idea that I think forget about like I have $1 million idea. Like I didn't
Sure.
even know. Like who cares? I just want to do
Right.
something cool. And then the stress of like, what if someone else created it? And it's just like you would feel like okay, but that's the point is the patent also gives you that extra kick because it's like no one thought of this. No matter how stupid they got. If you really think about this, I make a protective case for a protective case. That's what I make.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you and then so that's just how it happened. And then I always had the idea. I'm so glad because I always wanted the bar. I always wanted that bar across.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it looks good too. But
Well, it looks great, man. And obviously proofs in the pudding. A ton of people like that. So you mentioned Jeff Wilson. Talk to us a little bit sort of about how, Slab Strong went from this idea, right? That you're putting some time and energy and moving along. And then it starts to pick up some momentum. And I know that Jeff's part of that story. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about sort of how you went from, point A infancy to more of a full-fledged business and really rocking and rolling.
yeah, yeah. So Corey from Show Your Slabs was going down to the that first Dallas card show after that remember that first show was May
Oh yeah, it
20th.
was bonker.
Was it
I
2021?
wasn't there, but I saw the videos from it. It was nuts.
Yeah, yeah. It was that first show after the pandemic. So everyone was hyped. It was like the national. And then
Totally.
so my buddy Corey was like, "Hey man, like I like your idea." I had met him. I showed him. He's like, "Yeah, just you can come and set up at my table in Dallas." So he just gave me a free chair. Because at that point I only had like I literally went down to Dallas with 13 total separate black slab strongs. I gave 8 of them out and I kept 5 on me so I could like throw them. Because I
Yeah.
knew I wanted to do something stupid to get people. So I would just throw cards because I knew it would work. I've already done it at my house at that point.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. I did plenty of stuff to the slabs to make sure this product actually worked. And yeah, so that's how it happened. And that at that point, HGA tried to buy me out 100% though. I almost took that because I needed money. And I met other people, Clint from Zion, Corey, Stand Up Displays, Dan, a ton of people.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson was the first YouTube video that I was on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Stuff like that. Tampa Bay Card Shop put me on their YouTube. But yeah, and then so I had people tell me it was a good idea. I really didn't have many people. Like I would get this weird. I put out this post. I did a free giveaway where you could gain more entries if you would talk crap to me. Like if you would tell me how bad the product is, you get more entries,
Nice.
which really kind of knocked out 99% of the trolls because I'm saying tell me how bad it is, right?
Yeah. Troll me.
But a lot, yeah, and a lot of those, I would say, a lot enough people were like, "Hey, this is actually a good idea," and I like the way you're marketing it at the time. So then at that same Dallas card, it must have been like day 2 or 3. I saw Jeff Wilson. I knew that he was a personality in the hobby. I'll be honest with you, I didn't. Not only did I not watch him, I think I must have watched like a video or two or something because it started to come on my feed, like
Yeah,
other people too, like Santiago, Ryan John, like stuff like once you start watching, like, it just all gets.
totally.
And bro, I didn't know people didn't like him. I know people like him. I just mean the trolls. Like I didn't know that people like had this because to me he's just like, okay, he seems pretty successful in things, so I'm gonna go talk to him. I told my wife, and there's a picture of me when I first met him, and I was like, I'm gonna go throw it at the sports card investor. And I walked up to him. I threw 3 cards at his feet, and he was like, "Oh, that's cool. I get it. I haven't seen anything like this." He's like, "Send me an email." I sent him an email, but I spelt it Jeff because I didn't know his name at that. I didn't. I had known it was Jeff.
Yeah.
So then he doesn't respond, and I'm like trying to figure out why. Then I figured out why because I didn't spell it right. Emailed him, and at that point, I look back at the email. Well, spelling errors. My grandma, if you can't tell, I'm from Rhode Island. It sounds like I can't spell. It's just I'm from Rhode Island, and dude, I look back at that, I'm like, why would this guy ever talk to me? But at that point, I had this weird connection to Steve Sloan at PSA to where I was able to get to him, and PSA bought 300 pieces from me, which is was my coolest accomplishment. PSA themselves bought 300 pieces from me
Yeah.
that they gave away at the national with some people's. I don't know if you remember, they were like, you could bring your slab to the national. I'm sure you could still do it, but I remember, and they would crack it or whatever they want to do if you wanted to regrade whatever. They were doing it for like a weird fee, and they were giving slab strongs with that. So like that was cool. Yeah, but that's how with Jeff is. I just walked up to him, threw him at him, talked to him for a month or two,
Yeah.
needed
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
cash, knew that he had a lot of eyes on him.
Yeah, totally.
He's a
Well,
good
I mean,
dude.
at that time too, like you said, like with the pandemic and stuff, all of this was like booming and new, like everybody was sort of getting back into it, and including Jeff himself, and I do think it's interesting when you said everybody hates him, just to clarify, right? Like he's a polarizing figure for sure, but I
That's what I
obviously,
mean by that.
yeah, no, totally. But I'm just clarifying, right? Like, and I had the opportunity to work for Jeff for 2+ years, and he's a
Yeah,
great guy. He
yeah, he's all right.
truly cares about this hobby. He cares about people and stuff, but he is successful, and he's got a lot of money, and sometimes people don't like that or they get jealous for whatever reason. And hey, me, everybody's got their own personality, and not everybody's going to like everybody else's personality. So it is what it is. But that's really cool that he was, able to sort of help you, continue on and build your brand. And I know you guys had a great business relationship.
Yeah, I'm pretty much friends. I mean, I personally like everybody just like any other human being, but
Sure.
I'm pretty much friends with every faction of this
Totally.
hobby to where like
Yeah.
people don't like or these weird. I'm pretty much friends with all of them. So
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. I just laugh because it's like I promise you that like I'm still gonna enjoy my collection. Like I don't buy all this stuff for podcasts, you know what I mean? I promise
Right.
you I'm still gonna buy Rhode Island stuff, whether it's Jeff Wilson or Beef Mielson. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
totally. 100%. I think it's great. And I think the other thing that
He's
was an
cool.
interesting little tidbit that you said though about your first email, spelling mistakes, right? And grammar errors and stuff like that. Like because you're so excited, because you want to get it out, like, you send those things, right? And you're just like fueled. But, for anybody else who's just getting started, if you get that opportunity, slow down, take the break, especially with like Chat GPT and stuff, right? Like run it through spell check, run it through Chat GPT. Like you might only get one chance to impress somebody. And if you blow it, that could be it. So obviously it didn't get blown for you, which is awesome. But I think that is a really good tip, to have people just sort of think through that you got one chance to impress somebody. It's your first impression that matters, and make it your best foot forward, right?
Yeah, it really is. And I would say that I mean, there is no what I say next without you just said, but like take the time and ask. Like if you can get in touch with someone that I wouldn't even say need something from, if you want advice from like ask.
Totally.
There's plenty of people. It might be 1 out of 10 people that you want to talk to will talk to you, but depending on what you field you're in, that one person might be the guy you need to talk to, a guy or girl you need to talk to. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid of rejection. It's not that serious.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think also to that point, in this hobby, sure, there's beefs or whatever, flare ups, sort of silly nonsense stuff, but there's a ton of amazing people. And all these people are really willing to help people. And, they've been typically in your spot before. So, like you said, ask, right? Like most people will help you or give you that advice that you're looking for. And it's silly to make mistakes than other people have and can learn from those.
It's not that much different than having the confidence to negotiate at the table,
Totally.
negotiating for especially if you're up to $1,000 of cards. It's not, be confident, kind of know what you're talking about. Don't, you know, comps or whatever however you want to negotiate. But yeah, I mean, just be confident, try to know what you're talking about, and just know it's okay to make mistakes. You know, it's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So 21, things start to happen. 2022, things really start to build. So walk us through a little bit about that sort of 22 to 23, because I know,
Killing
July
it.
of 23, some stuff really happens.
Yeah, just killing it. Just killing it. Man, I've pretty much said that this on every podcast, including this little intro to what I say. I
Sure.
promise you, if I'm not, I at least think it, that I will have the most fun that you could see in this hobby. And I don't mean that I can fly private jet and what other stuff and like buy Pokemon cards, overseas or whatever. But nah, I just try to have the most fun. So once everything started rolling, and I've always had this mindset, man, like what is better than just even in general, having a business. I don't have to go work for someone. I do now, but I'm
Yeah.
when I in the sense I mean, first of all, BCW is very good to me. So when I say I work for somebody, clearly there's an owner to BCW, and I do have
Sure.
people that I talk to and report to, but they're very good to me and I'm remote. It's just been, man, a lot of fun because you get to travel to a lot of cool areas. Burbank show, Dallas, Allen, Texas. You guys out there know what I mean. It's a good show. They got the nice restaurants right there in Waters Creek.
Yep.
Phoenix, man. Phoenix is a dope place to go to. I was in Miami for Hobby Slam. That was dope. New York's always fun to go to the Bleecker, man. It was just at Fanatics Fest. So you get to travel to really cool places. And yeah, so like that started happening. I was able to pay for all this. I was giving myself a salary. I was traveling, going and buying good dinners. Not necessarily like sometimes once in a while you eat that good steak.
Sure.
Yeah, dude, I was able to, and plus the way I do things, I'm never at my table. When my wife would travel with me, she stays at the table. She knows she might get annoyed with me, but I'm cruising around. Like I'm never set up at a table. I'm cruising around the show. That's why I'm able to find all this funky stuff that I collect.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then October 1st, I'm at my 2-year anniversary was yesterday. So October 1st, I
Congrats.
got married, 2022. And at that same time, it doesn't happen anymore, but the Beckett Industry Summit was happening. My boy Corey was over there. Once again, show you a slab, shout out him. He's in a lot of my stories. Wish it wasn't so weird that I keep mentioning him, but he'll deal with it. Uh, Man, he went out with someone at Fanatics that was telling him they wwere thinking about putting like influencer hobby guys on cards. And Corey said to him, "You should have Tim and his big ass hat on there." And that's it. Like, he agreed, and I was on a card. I think it was 3 days later. I got a call from this Fanatics guy himself, and told me I was going to be on a set, and that
That's
was.
awesome.
And then since then, I now live in Nashville, Tennessee. I got man, I am absolutely having a great time. I'm also, let me see. Yeah, I'm also with Sports Card Nonsense on the Fanatics Live app, not part of the podcast, but on the Fanatics Live app.
Yep.
And I'm working BCW remote. And man, it's
That's
awesome.
awesome. That's really awesome, man. Well, congrats on all your success. Congrats on your anniversary too. That's a big deal.
Yeah, thank you.
But it's just cool to see, like you said, you're having fun. I've always seen you out and about, Tim, and like you're just a big personality. You're a social person, like you said, and I think that that's attributed to a lot of your success too. Is that you're willing to put yourself out there and go talk to people, and make those mistakes or not, right? But by talking to people, you make these relationships that you might not have known. And like you said, that ended up going to you being on a card, which is pretty special. There's not too many of us that can say, hey, I've got my own trading card without being an athlete.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, and trust me, I'm 42 now. I just lost a basketball game in New York to a guy and if you're watching, I'm not even gonna say a name. I'll destroy you again. I'm trying to get back in shape. But no, so it was two relationships there, right? I had my boy Corey who had my back, but the guy he said it to, I had met in at Bleecker trading a year prior at that point, and same type of situation happened. That's when I was actually still wearing the chain. This guy's a big time guy at Fanatics too, and I'm
Oh,
wearing this big dumb chain with the 9 piece on it, and I threw a slab at his personal assistant, and he told me, he's like, "Oh, I like your product." At that point, I looked up who he was on LinkedIn, found out who he was, sent him a message like, "Thank you for your time. Thanks for the kind words." And from that point forward, anytime I did something cool with Slab Strong, I would just tell him, I would just show him, and he would always respond. And so it was one of those situations where Corey could have suggested that I be on the card, but if this guy didn't know who I was or never had met me, it probably wouldn't have been as quick as, "Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, Tim." So
yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all about relationships, and that, like I said, to never would I have thought that I would be on a real Tops card. Like never, bro. Never.
It's pretty cool, man. It's a
Look,
thing, you go back to little Tim.
PSA 10 too.
That's awesome. That's
Crazy.
really awesome. But go back to Little Tim and make Little Tim really proud. What a cool thing to think about as a kid, right? And obviously,
I'm pretty cocky. I probably, if I show the little Tim, he'd probably be like, "Yo, I knew it. What am I in the NBA now?" And I'd have to fight him, and I have to fight that little ass.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So let's talk quickly about sort of the transition from what was Slab Strong. Obviously, the product still exists, but the national in Chicago, not past Cleveland, so 2023, you made a big announcement with BCW. Talk to us a little bit. Obviously, I'm not expecting details of the deal, but just talk to us about how that deal sort of came about and what that means and what you're doing now with BCW.
Yeah, they had taken interest. They bought a few slab storms for me. I never thought technically that anything would come out of it. I did at first. You think, "Oh, cool." Like I know who they are, right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, cool." Yeah, and then at some point I had to reach out to them, I think. Or they reached out to me. I actually can't give too much detail about this part, but
Sure.
I reached out to them, they reached back.
Yeah.
Things have to be negotiated because I have a patent, and I relied on Jeff's knowledge with talking bigger money with people. I was
Mhm.
there for it all, but and so we ended up making a royalty deal first. We ended up making a deal that was set in stone separate. And then once that happened, I was kind of free, right? Because they got 100% right to manufacture it and sell it. So at this point, like if you go to slabstrong.com now, it redirects you to BCW, right? So they have
Mhm.
100% ability to sell it. It's actually called Slab Bumpers now. They
Okay.
changed the name to Slab Bumpers. The good thing about that was the owner Eric was been really good to me. He realizes that I had this separate type of whatever you want to call it, character, Slab Strong.
Yeah.
So they don't, they've never told me to can you call yourself, even though it says it on the screen right now, uh, can you call it yourself like BCW
Slap
10?
bumper, Tim.
Yeah, slab bumper Paul or something, like change my whole name up. Yeah, so that happens. And then shortly after that, like right before the national, I had talked to them and they had talked about the possibilities of just being a category manager for sports cards and memorabilia, which is a big category for them. And my whole thing was like, what do you guys need done? And I'm happy to say, we'll never take 100% credit. And for some of these, I don't take any credit at all. Some I take a little bit of credit.
Sure.
If you go to tops.com right now, we have now bumped off Ultra Pro. Tops.com sells BCW product.
Wow.
Uh, if you go to Amazon right now, we're doing very well there. You might get some suggestions on eBay if you buy a card now. If you open up any product past 2023, so 2020, any basketball too, I'm not sure what comes in. Anyways, look at your pristines, look at all your stuff coming out. That's all BCW mags. There's a BCW stamp on the back of all them. So when I joined them, I brought that. Hey, there's this whole thing going on in the hobby where associating your brand. I mean, this is real life. It's not just in the hobby, but more
Sure.
recently in the hobby. Like if you're associated with Fanatics, if you're associated with Tops, if Top says these are our guys, or Fanatic says these are our guys, that's who you want. Like you want certain people to buy and advertise that they're buying your product.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I brought is the knowledge and networking that I've used for Slab Strong. And it kind of opened up my networking abilities because now I just don't have one product that I'm selling based on, buy it for me because it works, but also buy it for me because it's me type of thing. And so yeah, it just opened up whole categories for me to sell to. And I've since I joined them, I helped them get a deal with Image Comics. We got a license deal with Image Comics.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
Awesome, man. That's really cool. So, those are some positive stuff, but what maybe has been your biggest challenge since sort of joining BCW formally?
I guess it was just in general being, even though I'm relatively free, right? I have a lot of leeway to do what I do. I guess it's working for someone. I really
Yeah,
don't feel it though.
yeah.
Um, and this, it's more so like I don't know if you've ever okay, so like when you work with Jeff, right? I'm sure you had an idea for a piece of content, or you had an idea for this that just whether he thought it was bad or not, maybe there just wasn't time for it, right? And you're
Hmm.
like, oh, that was the one that like this is like it's that type of thing where you just can't make that final decision. But there's also less stress of, like I said earlier, manufacturing and selling. So
Totally.
it's you got to give up a little bit. There's no doubt. I wish Slab Strong was $1 million company. I wish I
Yeah.
was worth $1 million. But what I am worth now is I live in Nashville. I got a dope property. I got 2 cars, a wife, 2 cats. We're killing it on Fanatics Live. I'm still able
Yeah.
to collect a bunch. I got a savings account that I've never had before. So
Life's good, man. Right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
life's good. But yeah, I guess it's just it's more so that I guess. But even
Yeah.
that's not that big of a deal. I mean, I was working in the restaurant business my whole life to where I was getting yelled at by customers because their spaghetti was cold, or a waitress because she didn't, they
Yeah.
hurt. She got a dollar tip and she wanted to
Yeah.
like murder, So
Yeah. No,
it's easy.
listen, I get it. I came up through the restaurant business myself. I think it's important, honestly, for young people in general to work in the restaurant business. I think it's a great life lesson business. It's hard work, right? But it's good work, and it's blending different personalities and teamwork and, like you said, customer service issues and so much stuff. So I definitely think that there's so many great lessons, but it's a tough life, and it's a hard job. Especially when I got married and I had kids, and it just wasn't going to be something that was a long-term fit for me. But I totally relate to you, Tim. I mean, I ran and operated my own design development agency for 14 years before I went and worked for Jeff, because I wanted a break mentally. Like I'd been
Mhm.
dealing with some really heavy stuff. We've done some U.S. subcontract work for the government and State Department, and it was like, I love collecting. It's fun, and so I wanted to
Yeah,
go do that. And Jeff and the team gave me an opportunity to go in and help turn market movers around, and I'm really proud of the work that we did as a team, and that's part of why it's kicking butt right now. As we set some serious foundational stuff, into effect, starting 2 years ago, and then to where it is now today. But I know that, and that's definitely a struggle, going from completely your own thing to having to answer to somebody, and I think the one thing though is that sometimes people say that, but the bottom line is even when you are your own boss, even when you do work for yourself, you do answer to people, and those
yeah,
people are your clients or your customers,
right.
but it's a different level. But the cool thing is, it sounds like you found sort of that amazing balance, right? Where you've got a really awesome company that treats you well, but you also have, the freedom to do what you want to do. And that's a really, really good spot, man. So mad props and congrats to you on that.
Yeah, and then also not only BCW, so they knew too when I got with them that I was in Nashville because I'm part of Sports Car Nonsense, the breaking group on Fanatics Live.
Yeah.
So they've been very supportive of. Number one, it helps them too, right? Because
Yeah. Get their name out there.
let's be honest. Let's just be honest here. I work remote. I had to pretend like I was busy today to like, oh, I had to. Can I squeeze you in at 2? Ryan did nothing. I'm having lobster and steak tonight for my anniversary. He did nothing today. I went to Costco earlier. I bought an 8 pack of Scrub Daddies.
There you go.
So that was like I had to get home to get on this. So like let's not pretend, but yeah, but that's opened up a whole nother thing because like the breaking community has opened up. So I got a couple of friends from it too. Like the breaking community, and say what you want about breaking, that's fine. I buy into some breaks, but very rarely,
Yeah,
and only if it's like the Atlanta Braves and they're pretty expensive. So by all means, don't. Yeah, you can get killed in breaking.
sure.
But we have a really fun community. Geo's funny, off camera, on camera, so it's fun over there. And so yeah, I got a couple of, let's call them income streams. I hate to call them
Yeah,
jobs because it's like too much fun to call a job. But
yeah.
yep.
No, it's awesome. And breaking's a big business, man. I mean, there was just an industry report that I saw that came out, and there's some huge numbers being thrown
What
around.
that those whatnot numbers, right?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, I saw
exactly.
that too. Yep.
Yep, yep. So I mean, it's a big legitimate business. And to your point, we will stress being responsible with your breaking buying, but it's super cool. It's fun, and there's a ton of people that are really into it. So I think that's awesome, and it's cool that you've diversified. Like you said, those income streams or jobs or whatever you want to call them. But going from somebody who is a restaurant guy who lost his job down to $800 to where you are today, man, like that's just really cool, Tim. And I'm just really stoked for you, and congratulate you on all the success that you've had.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it. And I try not to, I like to joke around. I try not to joke when we talk about this subject
Yeah,
specifically because I've been telling people like it's one of those things to be what do they call it? Multi-level marketing guy and be like, you can do this if you just work harder. You could do this if you work hard. Work as hard as you want. Things are gonna be good, things are gonna be bad. But put yourself out there. You want the work to be hard at
yeah,
first because then when you so-called make it, and by no means do I feel like I made it, but I'm stress free right now. And things could happen, but I'll just deal with it just
sure.
like I dealt with the last 4 years of the pandemic that we all went through. If you
Yeah,
I would tell you I tell you this for people out there that do listen and like thinking about doing something, even if it's starting you wanted to sell on eBay to make something, just do it.
yeah,
It's a lot easier than you think, and it's gonna be hard work, but it's also like if it happens, cool. If not, you learn something. I'd rather do it's like I was willing to spend a little bit more time being broke than have to go back to the restaurant. I was just done after like 15, 20 years of restaurant, you're
yeah,
just done.
yeah,
And so I got lucky too. You gotta have a little bit of luck.
yeah. That's awesome. Well, sort of on that note, you've been through the ups, you've been through the downs, but I love to ask all my guests sort of just to reflect back and ask you to try to figure out what's sort of been the most rewarding part of being in the collectible space for you.
I made some really good friends. I made some friends that like my boy Renee from Storage Wars is one of the first guys to ever see my product and give me a chance with advice. So I made
Awesome.
some really good friends. I've got some really good collectibles. It's afforded me a different life than I thought I would have. The most rewarding thing is any point going forward now is to bust Corey's balls to let him know that I am on a card still and that he helped me get there, that he can't do anything about it now because I'm on the card.
That's awesome.
Also to Ryan, Aaron, Mama Breaks Jeff, Doc, Jess Menino, and the three other people that I actually don't know those people. I am the coolest person on any hobby influencer card out of 2023 Big League. To anyone at Culture Collision, when I see anyone down there, I will beat you on the basketball court. See, I forgot the question again, but I just got to get all this stuff out because it's on
Yeah,
my
no,
chest
it's
right
good.
now.
Like you
And we
said,
gotta have
like
the
you said, you
most.
got a little bit of the ego going, like let it
We
flow,
gotta have the.
Tim.
Oh, bro, being on the card is out of control. My boy Corey made me. I should have brought down hanging up like a King of Supplies thing. Right, it's just stupid. That's like wearing the hat. I just have a lot of fun with it. Wearing the chain though with my picture on it. I just have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, dude, because I don't know. It's like one of those things where because there was no thought that I could ever be on a card for any reason. It's like, well, I used to look back like, how did that happen? And well, it's because I met these people. But yeah, but like I created this thing that got us this great house now in Nashville. It's just crazy, bro. But yeah, I would say overall, like the coolest, most fun thing that could happen is being put on the card,
Yeah,
and then kind of things related to that is just making good friends. Now I can travel. I know where a lot of good food spots all around the country is. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Well, Tim, this has been amazing. I don't want to take up all your day because I know you got a lot more Costco shopping and steak and lobster to eat. But
thank you.
I want to be respectful of your time. So I asked all my guests, if you could give someone coming into the space or just in general, sort of a golden piece of advice, what would that be?
I would say if you want to get into the business world, um, do as much research as you can, but don't let your research get in the way of taking chances. Don't
Totally.
research yourself into anxiety.
Yeah.
As a collector, take your time at shows as best you can. Dollar boxes are great. Don't think, like I said, as collectors, a PSA 9 is fine. You don't got to get a
Totally.
PSA 10 and everything. If you want that card, just buy that card.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I collect. I follow my own advice here. I collect PSA fives. I generally collect fives because I just want the card, and five is my favorite number. It's simple as that. So if you're a collector, also have fun with negotiations. Have a little fun. A lot of these guys don't bite. A year down the line, you'll be busting balls with everyone there, and maybe you're shy now, but yeah, get out there, try to sell some cards.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I think it's great. It's great advice on both sides. And I do think, like you said, it's important to research, right? To know what you're getting into, but don't overthink it because, like you said, you
Yeah.
need to just do it, right? You got to get it out there. You got to put it out there. You got to take that risk because if you don't, you're going to always just keep thinking about it and it'll never happen. And whether it's a good or a bad idea, you'll always live with, well, what if, well, don't make it what if, just make it, this is it. And let's see what happens. So I like that a lot, man. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, any sort of exciting upcoming news with BCW or anything else that you want to share with the audience? Shows, events, products, releases, sales, anything?
Yeah, so all the colors over this next month, they've been in pre-sale. All the new colors and all the new brands for slab bumpers are hitting like the website. You'll see that soon because I'll be posting a bunch. They're sending me samples now of all the packaging and everything, so I can make posts. I'll be going to this really dope San Antonio show. I call it a secret. It's really not secret. Everyone isn't invited, so I guess it's kind of like
Cool.
uh
Little exclusivity.
little exclusivity. Yeah. So that should be cool. Going on to San Antonio. There's a show. I might go to the West Palm Beach show in November. I'm not able to make the Fanatics Fest. I really wanted to go to that, but I got to go to a wedding. No, I would say I don't know if you've ever been to Toronto. The Toronto
I have
National.
not, but
That
I've
bro,
heard
that's
great
my
things.
favorite show. That is
Okay.
the best show. I might go to that. That's like November, like 10th and 11th. I have time to go to that. I don't know if I'm going. But I'm looking forward to. I've been planning more so next year to go
Cool.
to not as many shows, but shows that I haven't been to.
Yeah, I love that. That's cool. It's always fun to explore the new shows, new cities, like you said, meet new people, find new restaurants, all see new things. That's awesome, Tim. Well, again, you guys, if you're looking for Tim, you can find him on social at Slab Strong or at BCW Supplies. Obviously, he's a great guy, so hit him up on there, give him a follow or shoot him a message. And if you didn't get it on this podcast, he'll probably reply to you and maybe give you some attitude for the better or worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, Tim, this has been just an awesome conversation, and it's so cool to hear about your journey. And like I said, man, I think it's just awesome to hear someone who humbly was really sort of at the bottom, and you've worked your way from the bottom to the top, be it through help with friends, right place, right time, hustling, talking to people. But it's really a truly inspirational story, man. And I just want to say thank you again so much for taking time to come on and sharing that with us. And also, I wish you the best of luck, man. I know I'll bump into you at a show here soon, but just really proud of all the cool things that you've accomplished and excited to see where else it's going to go for you.
I appreciate that. I need a t-shirt.
All right, man. You got one coming to you because being on the show, you get the exclusive. So you'll be getting one sent to you.
Yeah, I did. That wasn't even a setup. I actually get a t-shirt?
Yes, sir, dude. That's my thank you for you.
All right, cool.
Yes.
Now, I'll tell you what, though, real quick.
Yes.
Real quick. I know you haven't seen me in a while. Things have been going well. I gained a little weight. I gained some, you know what I'm saying? So I might need a 2X, but let me, I'll figure that out before.
We'll hook you up, man. We'll make sure it fits for you.
All right, I appreciate that.
All right. Tim, I appreciate you, man. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Thanks. Everybody, thank you so much for watching, tuning in. This was a super fun episode. Obviously, Tim is just a really cool person and got a great personality, and I always enjoy getting to talk to him and spend time with him. But as far as the podcast goes, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you learned something. I hope that you were inspired. I hope that, you're able to take a little something and maybe start your own business, right? Or if not, maybe go down a new collecting path, that's local to your hometown or something like Tim shared with us. But I really appreciate you tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe, like, share, leave a comment. And of course, if you dig this, please share with your friends. That's a way that this is going to spread. This is a passion project, and your help being able to tell other people about it If you enjoy it, it really means the world to me. So remember, keep collecting, keep hustling, and I'll see you next week on Hobby Hustle, where business, passion, and collecting collide. Thanks so much for watching.
Hobby Hustle is brought to you by Collector Creative. If you're a collectible brand or company looking for help with marketing, branding, design, or development, head over to collectorcreative.com and drop Zach a line. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at collector_creative. And be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time on Hobby Hustle, where collecting passion and business collide.